Hi everyone, it's me Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. So today's tutorial is crochet, and we're going to be making this fingerless mitt here with worsted weight and a 5.5 crochet hook. So you'll need your crochet hook, you'll need some yarn, you'll need a stitch marker, you'll need a pair of scissors, and a darning needle. Now, the size of this is going to depend on your particular hand size. If you have to go less rounds, it's going to change the overall amount of stitches you need. But I'm going to show you how I made it, and you can adjust it accordingly. So I will tell you how you can do that as well. So what I have here is it's nice and super thick and plush on the front, on the top of your hand. And then when you turn it over, it's a bunch of relief stitches. So it has lots of give, actually. And it's still nice and warm. Stick my hand in here so you can see. So here we are. Nice and warm, and I haven't sewn in my tails. You'll have to forgive me. All right. So for today's tutorial, I am using I Love This yarn, and it's a Hobby Lobby purchase. If you don't use Hobby Lobby, that's perfectly okay. Get yourself a worsted weight that is your favorite worsted weight, number 4 yarn, and use it. This is a print, and it's called Sand Dunes. I just love the browns in it. It's my favorite as far as the colorways. All right, so now I'm going to show you what I did, how I came up with working this up. So I just went ahead and took my hand and placed it on a piece of paper. And then what I did was I drew, around my hand and marked right here in the center between my thumb, in that webbing between my thumb and my index. Marked it nice and strong because that's where the change happens and it becomes a left-handed or right-handed mitt, depending on which side of your project you're going to be marking off. Completely optional. When we get to that point, I'll show you more. But I also wanted the cuff and to go over, as far as how big of a cuff. For this particular one, I did 14 rows of half double crochets, back loop only. And then I joined in the round. Then I worked 24 half double crochets all the way around. Now you have to, adjust a little bit here and there and add a stitch in because you only did 14 rows. And you're making it 24 stitches. So you're going to have to add in stitches as you go around. You're just going to place them as evenly as possible. And then we start working the pattern up from there to the top. Now, when you get to, like I said, the thumb, that's when you decide either we're going to make it a left-handed or we're going to mark off the other side and make it a right hand. That will come to that when we come to it, we'll deal with it. All right, so for now, we're going to place a slip knot on our hook. And we're going to work 11 chains. You're going to half double crochet back into the second chain from your hook. Let's get started here. Go ahead and chain 11, and I'll meet back up with you. Once you have your 11 chains, one of which is your turning chain, you're going to go to your second chain. Now I work in the back bumps, the back loops. It makes connecting in the round a lot easier at the end, and it also gives a little bit more stretch to your chain when you work on it. All right, so we're going to count back 1 and 2 and place a half double crochet into that stitch. And then you're going to work 1 half double crochet into every chain stitch to the end of your chain. Once you have your 10 half double crochets, we're going to do our repeat row. Chain 1, turn your work, and half double crochet into the back loop only. And you're going to repeat that to the end of your row. Now this is your repeating row. You're going to continue to do 1/2 double crochet back loop only into every stitch for 10 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, and repeat. And you're going to do that for a total of 14 rows. Now, let's just show you how to change that. This is the part we're working on now, around here. So if you get to a certain point and you wrap it around the widest part of your hand, and with a little stretch, it closes, you're done. You do not need to add any more, because if you do more, it's going to be too big. Now, when you come down, it'll shrink back down around your wrist. But for my hand laid flat comfortably, this stretches over my hand at 14 half double crochets rows. If you need to do more, you can do more. If you need to do less, do less. That's how I figured out what I needed to go around my hand. The same thing with the stitches to go up your hand. That will be determined as to how many you have here and what fits you comfortably. So we're going to go ahead and continue working our rows for the wrist part of your fingerless mitt. Go ahead and continue that, and I will return once I have my 14 rows, and I'll show you how to connect in the round, and we'll move on to the rest of the mitt. So once you have your 14, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work over. We're going to bring the starting end up to meet our current row. And what we're going to do is we're going to do back loop of both, and we're going to slip stitch them together. So I'm just going to go straight into the back loop of the first stitch. I'm going to reach over here and go into the back loop of the first stitch on the opposite end. And here we go. Pull through and through, just slip stitching. So I'm going to pick up the back loop of the front and the back loop of that back piece. One more time, pick up the back loop and back loop and slip stitch. And you're just going to continue to work that all the way down to your last and final stitches here, and we will begin working in the round. Once you have connected in the round, go ahead and turn your work right side out. Just like that. Now that we have it all the right direction that we want it to be, we are going to start working half double crochets all the way around. Now for me, that's 24. You're going to want to be able to evenly split the amount of stitches you place in the round. Now, that's because you have all of these stitches on the front are different from the bottom side, the top from the bottom. And you want to be able to split them evenly. Also, when you're looking at your hand, it gets wider from the wrist. So we also need to increase from the 14 rows out so that way we can accommodate for our hand without it constantly putting a lot of pressure on our hand. So, as I said, for me, 24 stitches worked out perfect. And that's not quite double. It's 4 stitches shy of being double the amount of rows. But we're going to work around, let's see, chain 1, and I'm going to go right in where my slip knot is, and I'm going to go over the tail and half double crochet. Then I'm going to go into the stitch next to it. So I'm into the top of the stitch. I'm going to go into the stitch itself. And then I'm going to go into this ridge right here. And again, I'm just going to continue to work that all the way around, working into the ridge, working into the stitch, into the stitch, into the stitch, and I'm going to be counting as I go. And when I get to 12, I should be able to take my fabric, my piece here, fold it in half, and be at the halfway mark on the other side. And that way I know I'm roughly even, and the other side will be 12 stitches as well. 12 and 12 is 24. Now, if you made this a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, you're going to have to adjust. And I would say add 2 or subtract 2 from my 24 to accommodate you and your size. But if you're making it the same size as I am, you're going to place 24 half double crochets around the top of this ribbing that you created. All right, so I'm going to continue working this all the way around, and when I come to the end, I will meet back up with you. Now that we have reached the end, we're going to slip stitch to the top of our very first half double crochet. Now we're going to do 1 round of half double crochet. So you're going to chain 1 and half double crochet back into that same stitch. Place my stitch marker, and I'm just going to work 1 half double crochet into every stitch all the way around. And once I reach the end, I will meet back up with you. All right, so now we're going to do a drop double crochet. So instead of going into this stitch, we're going to go down below the stitch, catch below the stitch where the last row was made. And I'll show you here. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to yarn over and place your hook into where your stitch was made on the row prior. So we're going to go down into there, yarn over, pull a loop through, and double crochet. All right, let's do that again. So here's our next stitch. We're going to go down below to the row below where that stitch was made. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Don't pull these too tight because we are going to be working around them. You can kind of see it when you pull your work apart. You can see those stitches. And you're just going to want to make sure that you have the same number of drop double crochets as you had half double crochets. So we're just going down below, creating these drop stitches. Drop double crochet, 24 of them. When you get to the end, it'll be a little hard to find that last one because of you having to slip stitch to end the round. Once you have done that, I'll meet back up with you. Now, once you've reached the end, we're going to slip stitch to the very top of that first drop stitch. Now's a good time if you want to double check and see how it's looking as far as when you slip it over your hand and how it's opening up to start going up onto your hand. That looks like it's going to be fitting well. You don't want it too loose, but you don't want it too tight. You don't want it cutting off circulation. All right, I can continue on. That looks good. All right, we're going to begin our 2-row repeat. Now, this 2-row repeat is going to go all the way up to the point here in the webbing between your index finger and your thumb. So where we're going to pinch together to separate the thumb from the rest of the hand. So this will be repeating row 1 of 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to work over the next 12 stitches, which is half of my 24 stitches. I'm going to start with a front post double crochet around the first stitch. So I'm going to start with a mock front post double crochet, like such. Replace my stitch marker. Now around the next one, we're going to yarn over, go behind the stitch, behind the post, yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to do that 2 more times. Yarn over, go behind the post, yarn over, and pull up a loop. 1 more. Yarn over, behind the post, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all the loops on your hook and chain 1 to close that off. Now front post double crochet the next stitch. That is now 3 stitches. So I need 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to place a stitch marker right here between my 12th and 13th stitch. You do not have to do that. I'm doing this just for visual purposes. All right. So here we are. That's half of my stitches. So now we're going to repeat this. We're going to yarn over, go behind the post, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go behind the post, yarn over, pull up a loop, and 1 more time. Yarn over, go behind the post, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all the loops on your hook and chain 1. And then double crochet, front post double crochet your next stitch. And repeat. We're going to repeat that all the way to the stitch marker. All right, coming up to the last stitch here, which is one of those fun puffs. There we go. And now from this stitch marker over the last 12 stitches, you are just going to front post every stitch. Front post, front post, front post. Continue with the front post to the end of the round. All right, here we are at the end. We're going to slip stitch to the top of our very first stitch to end the round. Now for your second round of your repeating rounds, you do the opposite of the row below. If you had a front post double crochet, you now create a puff stitch. So I'm going to chain 1, pull up a little bit of a loop, yarn over, go behind, yarn over, pull up a loop. Do it again, yarn over, go behind, yarn over, pull up a loop. Got to do 1 more. And then yarn over, go through all the stitches and chain 1. Place your stitch marker into that little chain 1 eye. That's where you will slip stitch to. Now for this puff stitch, you're going to do a front post double crochet around that stitch. And then repeat. 1, 2, 3, and go all the way through all of them, chain 1, and then front post double crochet around the top of that puff. And you continue working that all the way till you have reached your last of your first 12 stitches. Then you will front post. These will always be front post on the back side, on the bottom of your hand. They will always be front post double crochets. This is the only part that's going to alternate back and forth between your repeating rows 1 and 2. And then when we get to this point, that's when I'll meet back up with you, because yours may be 10 rounds, yours may be 20 rounds. It depends on how long of a hand you have. So go ahead and continue that 2-round repeat until you're just, get this paper back over here, until you're just beyond this point here. So in the webbing, you want to be just above it. It's better to be a little bit above it and have a little bit of extra down here than it to be pulling constantly up on your hand because you made it too short. So continue that 2-round repeat until you're to that point of the webbing, and then I will be back to show you how to connect and continue on, and the difference between the left and the right. Now that you have it to the point where we need to determine whether this is going to be a right or left-handed glove, what we're going to do is, I'm looking at both gloves sitting here. So this one I've already done as a left-handed glove. So this one I need to do as a right-handed glove. What I need to do is, I'm going to go ahead and put this on my hand. Now you do not have to do this, but I'm doing it just for an example here. So here's my starting and stopping point. Here is where I need to go and connect. Now what you can do is very easily, I know from this one that I have 3 of these stitches. So at the 3rd one here of the front, I'm going to place this stitch marker. And then I'm going to go straight across by pinching it together and find the stitch that I need to connect to. I'm going to slide this off. I'm going to stick this stitch marker into that stitch. And now I have the thumb hole and the finger opening. Now I'm going to work my way in pattern over to this stitch marker. And when I get to this stitch marker, I'm going to show you what to do next at that point. All right, I have worked in pattern over to the stitch marker. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double crochet 2 together here. So I'm going to pop my stitch marker open so that way I'm good to pull it off. I'm going to just double crochet 2 together, and I'm going to go into my next stitch and into that back stitch, and I'm going to pull through and double crochet just like that. Now that will become a front post double crochet just like the rest of the hand here. Now I can pop this stitch marker off because I am connected in the round. Now we will come back and work this thumb hole after we continue working this part of the glove or the mitt up your hand. Now this was done on that stitch right here. So we're going to continue working on by front post double crochet the rest of those front post double crochets over to where we start our pattern again. And we're going to continue working the pattern until there's just a little bit before the end of our pinky finger. There we go. And now I need to connect to my first stitch because I'm back at the end of the round. All right, so we're going to keep working that pattern in the round until we get to just before the end of our pinky. Wherever you want this mitt to end, it may be a little bit further down, it may be up over that pinky, up to you. Then we're just going to work a half double front post all the way around and then a single crochet all the way around. So we're going to end with 2 smaller rounds. And then that will be the end of it. So basically you want to leave the height of a double crochet to finish off the last 2 rounds. Then we'll come back and work this thumb because it's worked individually. All right, so go ahead and work up on this one in pattern up to the point where we're going to do our last 2 rounds of it. And I'll meet back up with you. Now that you have it long enough, and I'm just going to put it on real quick so you can see where it sits on my pinky. So here we are. I have plenty of room. I'm like at that last knuckle before the end of my pinky. And everything else is seated comfortably. So now we're going to work a round of front post half double crochet and 1 round of single crochet. And that will end it as far as this portion. Then we will go back and work our thumb. So here we are. We're just going to do 1 front post half double crochet around every stitch to complete this round. And then 1 single crochet in every stitch to complete your last round. And then chain 1, single crochet back into that same stitch, and just single crochet every stitch all the way around. You can fasten off at that point and sew in your tail for this portion of the mitt. Then we're going to move on to finishing the thumb, which is just a couple of rounds, and you will be done with it. All right, let's go ahead and move into our thumb. We're just going to reconnect with a slip stitch or however you so choose. For security purposes, as I'm working on this, filming it, I always make a slip knot, insert my hook wherever I'm going to be attaching to, which I'm going to go in between the last pattern stitch and the first stitch to the bottom side of the thumb. I'm just going to go in between because we're going to continue the front post. I'm going to pull that through and then slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch, connect. Now we're going to work in the round, but we're only going to be working front post half double crochets. All right, so every stitch is a front post half double crochet. So we're just going to work that. Chain 1 and front post half double crochet. And front post half double crochet. Now when we get over here to the center, let's see if I can get it where you can see it. I've got 1 more here. available to work, front post half double crochet. And where we have added a stitch for the index finger side, we're going to add a stitch for the thumb hole side. So the same goes. We're just going to do a half double crochet instead of a double crochet, 2 together. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go into that same 2 stitches that we added a stitch when we finished the rest of the mitt. And I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and finish that half double crochet. All right. Now I have 2 stitches. Let's see. Yeah, I have 2 stitches over here. 1, 2, 3 stitches. 3 stitches over here to finish. So front post, half double crochet, and front post, half double crochet, front post, half double crochet, and slip stitch to the top of your first stitch when you get to the end of your round, like such. Now, at this point, you can put it on your hand and figure out how much more you need to do to make the thumb as long as you want. You can continue working half double crochets around until you reach the top of your thumb. You know, the top of your thumb to the bottom of your thumbnail, however you so choose. I'm going to work a little bit more, probably 3 more rounds of half double crochets, and that's just 1 half double crochet in every stitch all the way around to finish that. And then what I will do, I'll bring this back over here, is just like we finished this here, we're going to finish with a single crochet round and then fasten off and sew in your ends, which I'll have to do for both of these. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue working in the round 1 half double crochet in every stitch. No more post stitches, just stitch. So chain 1, half double crochet into the stitch, and 1 half double crochet into the next stitch and all the way around. Then I'll check it again and see where it sits on my thumb, see if I'm happy with it, and move from there as to whether or not I need to do another round. And then I'll finish it off just like I did here with 1 single crochet all the way around. All right, I'm going to go ahead and quickly finish this up and I'll be right back. So here we have it. We have our fingerless mitts that are super squishy and thick up top, nice and toasty warm. Yeah, put them together like that. And that squishiness on the bottom as well, but your fingers are still available to do as you need to do. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you make these, I would love to see your work. You can share them over on the Facebook group. You can share them to me in a private email. You can tag me on Instagram, all kinds of different ways. But remember, make them your own. This is just my suggestion, my idea as to a pattern. I just absolutely love the way that those puff stitches line up with every other one. It gives it that diagonal look. I love the feel of the squishiness of it and the size. Make them your own. Do with it how you so choose. All right, everyone. So thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Be blessed and be a blessing, y'all. Bye for now.